Hi, so we're going to do an introduction to PowerPoint workshop, and we'll review the basics of PowerPoint, including creating a presentation with slide transitions, where slide transitions are moving from slide to slide when you're presenting the show, and then also with animation, and animation is movements within the slide itself. So objects like pictures come in or text come in. We'll also learn about adding tables, inserting charts and pictures, using smart art graphics, which basically are pre-designed graphics for lists, processes, and organizational charts, and also word art, text effects, and those are just kind of special, kind of artistic flair type of texts. And we'll also learn keyboard shortcuts. So Microsoft estimates more than 35 million PowerPoint presentations are made around the world each day, which is a staggering number. However, most people, unfortunately, tune out of a presentation within 10 minutes. So you really do need to engage your audience, and you can tell stories, you can use polls within your slides. So we can just talk about that a little bit. So Dave Peretti, and I'm not really sure how to say his last name, but it's spelled P-A-R-A-D-I, has a website called thinkoutsidetheslide.com, and he's run surveys, about 3 of them at least that I know of, on his website. And he wants to know what are the most annoying things about bad PowerPoint presentations. So the top 3 include where speakers read the slides to the audience. So a lot of times they'll turn around, face the slides, and read directly off the slides, and they're not making any kind of connection with the audience. And if you have a soft voice, which I don't have, but if you have a soft voice, then the audience can't even hear you. So that makes it doubly bad. The next one is full sentences were used instead of bullet points. It's difficult to read sentences as opposed to the bullet list. It's much easier to read those. And then also the third one is text was so small I couldn't read it. So we will talk about those. And he's also given honorable mentions to color choice that makes the slides difficult to read. So one of the things that you want to think about is, even though it looks good on your computer monitor or your screen, but the projection will sometimes not work well. So you do need to test it beforehand. I was once helping somebody with a PowerPoint presentation, and I think it was a red background with black text, and it looked really cool on the computer. Well, it was really difficult to see once it was projected, and I don't know enough about color to know if it was what the terminology was, but it just didn't pop. We found out that if we put a white border around the lettering or the text, it looked much better. So you can work with things like that. Also, moving and flying objects and text and annoying sounds, people didn't like. And overly complex diagrams and charts on slides. So perhaps if you are talking about a complex subject, you can have those points on your slides and talk about them. But if you need to have a diagram, if it's really complex, give that in your handout, So basically what it boils down to is information overload is a big problem. And point being is use more visuals. It's difficult to process information if it's coming at you verbally from the speaker and it's written on the slides at the same time. People tend to focus on the slides and they're not even hearing you. They're looking at the slides and reading them. So it does help to use visuals and talk about things. And obviously the visuals need to relate to what you're talking about. So some guidelines about creating a presentation is know your audience, think about who you'll be speaking to, know your purpose. So are you trying to inform the audience? Are you trying to sell to the audience? Are you trying to persuade them to take action for something, or buy something? Or are you entertaining the audience? And certainly it can be a combination of those for different purposes. And then thirdly, know your expectations. When the presentation is finished, what action do you want the audience to take? Are you looking for the audience to possibly approve a project or purchase? Or do you want your customers to buy a product? Do you want to teach the audience something? So those are the kinds of things that you need to think about. So right now my screen has already been opened as far as if I'm just logging on to PowerPoint. And so then what I'll do is I'll click the blank presentation right here. So this is the screen that it opens up to. I'm going to click blank presentation. All right. And so let's just take a look. If you've worked with other Microsoft products, you'll be familiar with a lot of these different layouts in the window. So there's the quick access toolbar in the upper left-hand corner. There's the title, and then also the program name. And then over on the right side at the top is the sizing buttons, where it has the minimize, the restore or full screen, and then or maximize, and then closing the program. And then of course the ribbon, so it has the tabs up at the top. So if I click on a different tab, it has a whole different set of buttons to choose from, and they're generally organized. And so many of them are grouped. So on the insert tab, there's slides grouping, tables grouping, images grouping. Okay. On the home tab, there's the clipboard grouping, the slides grouping, font, etc. And so then the side panel over here displays, right now we only have one slide, but it will display a thumbnail of all the slides in the presentation. So on that left side, you'll see that. The status bar down at the bottom, you'll see the current slide and total number of slides. And obviously right now there's only one slide of one. And then over on the right side of the screen, so there's a button that says Notes. So you can actually add notes to your presentation of things you want to either talk about or so if I click that button, it adds a little note section here, and I can make that bigger if I want. You know, I can just position my mouse pointer over that line, and my mouse pointer turns into a double-headed white arrow, and I can make it smaller. And if I want to get rid of that, it's a toggle button, so I just click it again. All right, and then these are the different views. Right now it's in normal view, but there's also slide sorter, reading view. I never really use that. And then there's the slideshow button. And then there's the zoom, so you can make things bigger and smaller. Now, some of you may not see this design ideas on the right side, this panel here. It's in the 365 version of Microsoft, so I'll mention it a couple times because they do kind of have neat ideas. So I'm just going to close it for right now. And then obviously the slide right here itself is the work area. All right, so where you start creating slides or editing the slides or that sort of thing. So the first slide of a presentation is the title slide, and it introduces the presentation. So a lot of times people will put the title of the presentation. Sometimes people will add the speaker's name. You might have logos. You might have images of different things, depending on if you're talking about a product or whatever. And you might even have the date and the name of the group you're presenting to. So, but do notice one thing. There are placeholders here, okay? There are these little boxes, and they can be moved, you know. And then they do have the kind of instructions to say click to add title. So I'll do exactly that. I'm going to click in that placeholder, click to add the title, and I'm just going to type in Messenger Library. Okay, now we'll talk about shortcut keys in a minute from going from one placeholder to the next, but I'm just going to click to add a subtitle, and so I'm just going to type of North Aurora. Okay, and if I press enter, it's not going to do anything. I would just press escape. All right, so let's just go ahead and save now that we've done that. So I can just click this in the quick access toolbar. I can just click the little save icon, and so this is also another thing for 365 version. So I'm just going to do it like you might see it more likely. So I'm just going to click browse, and eventually it'll come up, and I'm going to save it to my jump drive. So I'll just put it here, and I'll just call it Messenger Library. I'll keep what it is and just click save. Okay, and so you do want to get into the habit, like with any other software application, you just want to save it frequently. Even though there is an autosave, you just never know. It's not a bad idea to do things like that. So it looks pretty boring, right? It's a white background. It's, you know, kind of plain. Not kind of, it is very plain. So you can apply a document theme, and themes are preset formatting for your presentations. It includes a color theme, it includes font styles and sizes, and so it gives it a professional look and a consistent look. And then also the bullet formats are the same. And we'll talk about changing bullets a little bit later. So document themes also position placeholders on slides for titles, text, bulleted lists, and graphics. So if I choose one document theme versus another, it not only will the background look different, but also where the text is placed on the slide may be different. And so PowerPoint has more than 30 document themes. In those themes, they also have 4 variations. So generally that's different colors or a little bit different design, but the layout is still pretty much the same. So to create the document theme, I will go to the Design tab right here. Okay, I'll click that. And so here is just a beginning of the different document themes. And so notice the grouping is called themes. And if I click this More button down here in the lower right-hand corner of that list of or row of different designs, if I click that, it will open up to More. And so one of the nice things is, if I'm probably driving you crazy as I position, it has live preview. So you can kind of take a look, instead of looking at the small icon of it, you can see how it might look. Okay, but that's just the title slide. Certainly other slides will look a little bit different. So I'm just going to take the retrospect. And notice as I position my mouse pointer over each of the different designs, not only is it live preview, but it also tells me the name of it. So I'll just go ahead and choose retrospect and click it. All right, and then over here, say again on the Design tab, are the variants or the variations. Okay, so I can change it to this variation, this one, and that one. Now this looks pretty neat. If you wanted to print it, it'll take up a lot of ink unless you do it in black and white. So let's just go with this one. And so here, here are the different design options that they give you. So there, it is kind of interesting, but again, I'm going to close that. So if I want to add a new slide to the presentation and then enter content, I can do that. So I'll go to the Home tab right here, And in the slides grouping is the new slide button. So I'm just going to add a new slide by clicking the new slide button, new slide button. And do notice that when I hover over it, it does give me a keyboard shortcut. So Control and M would be the way to enter a new slide instead of going to the ribbon. All right. So after the title slide, it will default to the title and content layout. All right. So I can click once in the title placeholder, and I'm going to type our services. Now, if I don't want to grab my mouse and then click into where it says click to add text underneath, I can press the escape key first to deselect the placeholder, and then press tab to move to the next placeholder. All right, so I type, I press escape key, and then I press the tab key to move to the next placeholder. All right, or you can simply just click in the placeholder. So now I'm going to add a bulleted list. All right, so I'm going to type adults and press enter, kids, press enter, and then circulation. So obviously I picked one that doesn't have the bullets themselves, but and I can also add data into a multi-level bulleted list. All right, so I'm going to click after, and I could arrow up if I wanted to after adults, and I'm going to press enter. All right, now if I want to indent the item, or what's called demote the item, I can press the tab key. All right, and so it indents it, usually with a smaller bullet. So we can change the design a little bit later, and we'll create a level 2 paragraph. All right, so I'm going to type in book club, press enter. I'm going to type in genealogy, enter, and then great reads. Okay, so now if I press enter, and this is the end of my items that relate to adults, I can press shift and tab to move back to the first level. All right, so it promotes the item. So now I'm going to type in teens. All right, and I can also use, instead of using the keyboard, pressing tab. Now, if I press tab right now, to indent it, it would have to be at the beginning of the text. If I press tab, it's just going to tab over, so I'll backspace. I could press the home key and then tab. And each time I press tab, notice that the text size is smaller, all right? And it indents it even further. I can press shift and tab to get it back to where I want to. But remember, if I'm going to use the keyboard, I have to be at the beginning of the text. I can also, up in the paragraph grouping on the Home tab, there's increase list level button and decrease list level button. Now right now, because I'm at the first level, that decrease list level is going to be grayed out. It's not available to me. So I can click, 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 click the decrease, click, and click. So it's the same as tab and shift and tab. Okay? So I'm going to press end key to move to the end. Now if I press enter, I'm going to add homework help, enter, teen volunteers, enter, and college prep resources. Oops. Now if I want to add this to be a demoted or an increased level under teens, the ones that I just added, I can select that text and use the button to increase list level. Okay, so I have that option as well. So we can add a slide. So I'll just add a slide here. So on the Home tab, click New Slide button. And I'm going to click in the title placeholder. And again, it put the title and content slide layout there. So I'm going to type in suggest titles for book club program, book club bags program. Okay, and then I can press escape to deselect that placeholder, and then press tab to move to the bulleted list content area. And I'm just going to type in call, enter, 630-896-0240, enter, or enter, email us, enter, and then ASD at, oops, try that again, at messenger pl for publiclibrary.org. All right, and then we'll add one more slide, and we're going to add, click new slide. And if I decide, well, really I don't want this slide layout, I can change the layout whether I have text in it or not, even if I've added information to it. So again, on the Home tab, Slides grouping, I'll click Layout button, and here I can choose whichever one I want. Okay, so I'm going to choose Section Header, Slide Layout, click in the title, and type questions, question mark, escape, tab, and type in thank you. All right, and again, if you have the 365 version, it will bring up these design ideas, but I'm going to ignore that. Okay, so if I want to center both the title and the subtitle area or the content, I can click the outside border of the placeholder on the Home tab, click the center button in the paragraphs grouping, and then I'll do the same for the title of the slide. So I'll click in the text so I can see the placeholder border, click on the border so it turns into a solid line, and then click center again. All right. So let's talk about reusing a slide from another presentation. So I created just a presentation that has one slide, but there are times where you want to use information from some PowerPoint presentation. So I go to the slide where I want to insert it. So I'm going to go to the second slide, our services. And I'm going to, again on the Home tab, but instead of clicking the top part of that button that says New Slide, I'll click the lower half of it where it has that little list arrow, and I'm going to use the Reuse slide at the bottom of that drop-down box. Okay, I'll click it, and then a panel opens up on the right side of the screen that says Reuse Slides, and I can click the Browse button to find that file. So I'll click the Browse button, and I'm going to go to where I know that file is. And I'm going to use the kids. So I can click it to select it and then click the open button. Now, as I said, it only has one slide in it, so I know which one to use. But generally it will have, you know, a listing of the slides. And if you hover over it, it will give at least the title, if there is a title on that slide. So, and then notice down at the bottom of this pane or panel, it says keep source formatting. So I'm not going to check that because I want it to take the design theme of this slide presentation. So I'm going to click, and it automatically inserts it below that current, what had been the current slide. All right, so we had clicked on slide 2, then went to find that file, clicked the slide, and it inserted it in the slide below. Okay. So on the kids slide, so generally a good rule of thumb is that when you start typing a long list, it will start making the text smaller, for one thing, so it'll fit in the box. But it really is a good rule of thumb to not have more than 6 bullets. So you can either consider putting it into 2 slides, or you can have 2 columns. So that's what we're going to do with this. So I'm going to change the layout. So again, Home tab, go to the Layout button in the Slides grouping, and I want to choose the 2 content slide layout. All right. So I don't have to retype it. I can easily select the ones I want to move to the second column. So I select them. I click the left mouse button and just click and drag it over to that other box, which makes it really easy. All right, so let me undo that and let me just show you that again. So I select the text I want to move over to that second box, and I just click and drag using the left mouse button and then drop it into that second box. Okay. You can also format text in slide, and it functions pretty similarly to Word if you're familiar with Word. So I'm going to click that first slide, the title slide, and I'm going to click in the subtitle text. And instead of selecting the text, if I just click that border of the placeholder, any change I make will affect all of the text. Okay, so I want to make it bold. So on the Home tab, go to bold, and then I want to change the font size. So I'm going to make it 32. Okay, and then I'm also going to apply the shadow effect. All right. I also want to change the title, so I'll click in the title, but rather than selecting the text, I'll just select the border of the placeholder. So everything that's in that placeholder will be changed. So I'm going to select font size of 88. Oh, we could go to 96. All right. And then I'm going to select bold. And then I'm going to, so it's very easy. I'm just going to click the X over here on the reuse slide pane and just close that. I'm going to go to slide 3, and I'm going to change to double spacing. All right, so I'll click one of the items in the list, click the border of the placeholder so it turns into a solid line, and then on the line spacing button so it's in the paragraph grouping, I'll click it and choose double space, and I'll do that for this placeholder as well. So click inside the text of one item, click the placeholder so it turns into a double to a solid border, and then I'll click that line spacing button to be 2. All right, so it just increases, it looks like it's double spaced. All right, so there are a couple things you can do. So we're going to go to well, actually we'll stay here at the kids slide. So you can customize the bullets. So let's take a look. If I click that list arrow of bullets, there are predefined bullets, okay? However, I'm going to select bullets and numbering down at the bottom. So all I did was select the number or the bullets drop-down menu or menu button, select bullets and numbering option, and then down here I'm going to click customize. And now I can choose from several different kind of symbols, etc. So I'm going to click this list arrow where it says font, and I'm going to change it to symbol. And it's in alphabetical order, so you can find it relatively easily. So I'll choose symbol. And then I'm going to use the infinity sign, okay, right here. So I'll click it, and then I'll click OK. And then I'll click OK again. Now, you can't really see that all that well, right? So I can go back, click the list arrow, click bullets and numbering, and notice here, and I could even change the color if I wanted to. I could click that and I'd get a palette of different, so I could choose a different color. But I can also change the size. So I can increase that, let's say to 120. I could just have typed it in, okay, and then click OK. All right, so if I click outside of it, that's the way it'll look. I can also customize it to a picture. All right, so you can really create your own bullets. So I'm going to click in the list and then just click the border. And so this time I'm going to use a picture. Now you want to consider simple line drawings or pictures, otherwise the bullet really doesn't transfer well. It doesn't, you're not really sure what it is sometimes. So one time I was doing a PowerPoint slide for somebody who was selling to an office supply store, and I think well, Staples is the that's easy or something button, and I think we've used that one. And then also the rubber band ball, was that Office Max or Office Depot? I can't remember. Anyway, so I just used that one. And it does impress people, and it's not that difficult. But anyway, so I'm going to click that list arrow. Again, go back down to bullets and numbering. And this time, instead of clicking the customize button, I'll click the picture button. And then I'm going to take it from a file that I already have. So I'll click it, that option. I'm going to go to my jump drive. And I'm going to use the messenger logo So I'll click it and then click to select it and then click Insert. Okay, so it's got the logo there. You can remove bullets as well. So I'm going to go to slide 4, although the bullets really aren't showing here. And so I'm going to click one of the items and then click the border to select the entire placeholder text. And I'm going to click to turn off the bullets. All right? And then we're going to center the entire, so I can just click on the Home tab, click the center in the paragraphs, and then we want to draw attention to the phone number and the email address. So this time I am going to select the phone number, and from this mini toolbar I'm going to change the font size to 32. And I'll do the same with the email address. Highlight it or select it and change the font size to 32. Okay? So we did talk about this a little bit earlier, that there is down here the different views. You can certainly move slides, the slides position over here in the slides pane. However, if you have a real long list of slides, sometimes it's difficult to do it that way. So I would suggest using the slide sorter button, the view button down here, the one that looks kind of like 4 different slides. So I'll click it, and this is the slide sorter view. Okay, so you see a little bit, quite a bit smaller image of the slide, but so then it's just easy enough to click and drag it. So I'm going to take the suggest titles and click and drag it and move it after the questions. All right? And then I can go back to normal view by going down to the bottom here of the view buttons and the very first button. And again, if I hover over it, it says normal, and it will take me back to this. You can also add a slide and give it a specific layout right from the get-go. So I'm going to click on our services because it always adds the slide below the current slide location. So I'm going to, instead of just clicking, so it's on the Home tab again, but instead of just clicking the top part of the button, as we did with, reusing a slide, I can click that new slide lower half part of the button, and then I can choose the slide layout that I want. All right, so I'm going to do content with caption, which is this one right here. So it defaults to doing the title and content, all right, but I'm going to use the content with caption. All right, and so I will click in the title, click to add title placeholder, and I'm going to type in reading challenges. All right, then I can press the escape key to deselect, and then I'm going to press tab 2 times, so it moves first to the one larger area where we're going to add a picture, but then I want to add it, have it go to click to add text, so I just click tab again. All right, so I'm going to add in the text box summer, oops, I could spell, summer challenges for kids and teens. Press enter. Summer challenges for adults. Enter. And winter challenges. Oops. Okay. And then I'm going to click the border. So it turns into a solid line. And then I'm going to change the font size. To 20. And then I'm going to format winter challenges. So I'll select it because I'm only formatting just one of the items as opposed to clicking the placeholder. And then I'm going to click the italics button. So I could have done it on the mini toolbar. You know, if the mini toolbar goes away because I've moved my mouse pointer, I can right click and it will come back up. So I'll choose italics there. All right. So we can insert a picture. You can use one from a file. You can use one that's online. One thing you do want to be careful of is copyright. If it's for sale, you have to pay for it. Generally, if you see some kind of a logo, watermark on it, it means it's from somebody, and you would need to pay for it. So we're going to click. So I can actually go to Insert tab, but there are also these icons right here. All right. And so I can choose the one that says Online Pictures. All right. And it goes to the internet. And so in the text box up here, where it's already flashing, the cursor's flashing or blinking, I can type in book and press enter. And it will come up with different books that are available to use. Just though because it comes up in a search doesn't mean it's necessarily free or doesn't have copyright information. But right now we're not going to worry about that. So I'm going to choose this, but I can scroll down. Okay. And I'm just going to use this one. I could either double click it once, or click it once and then click the insert button down in the lower right hand corner. All right. And so actually this is kind of interesting how it, you know, these different, so maybe I want to choose that one. All right. Now, for disabilities, they typically have alt text. This might be copyright information, but I'm just going to select it and then, oops, I always do that. Let me undo that because both of these are selected. So I'm going to click once and then see if I can't just get this to click and then just delete that out. Okay. So it does give you different options. You know, there's even almost like a watermark effect. Okay. So this does, you know, present some interesting variations. All right. So I could, I'm going to close this Design Ideas pane. And I did choose the one that had a little bit smaller. But so just to kind of show you how you can resize, move, that sort of thing. So if I select the picture, I have sizing handles around it. All right. I also have this rotate button up at the top. It's kind of the circle at the top. And I could do something like that if I wanted to. Okay. I can, if I position my mouse pointer inside the picture, my mouse pointer turns into kind of a black plus sign with arrowheads on the ends with a white mouse arrow, and I can click and drag, moving it like that. And I can resize it. Generally it's helpful to grab the corner, because then that way you're not like stretching the picture. It's more proportional. So I can click and drag it going up if I wanted to, and then click and drag it. So I mean, that's pretty easy, and you can play around with that. So you can also use the crop button. So as long as the picture is selected, you have a picture format tab. If I were to click off of the picture, it's a contextual tab. It goes away. If I click on the picture again, that tab reappears. All right. So I can I can't see the crop button. Oh, that's because I wasn't on it. No wonder I couldn't see it. So on the right side of the screen, there's size, and so I can crop the picture. All right. If I click that button, notice how my mouse or my picture has these little black lines in the corner and in the middle. And so say I don't want as much at the bottom. If I position my mouse pointer over that black dash, and my mouse pointer turns into, I think it's like a black T, the letter T, I can remove part of the picture. All right. So that's a kind of an interesting thing to do. And then I can just click it to turn it off. There's also something to crop to shape. All right. So I have the picture selected. If I click the lower half of the crop button and I select crop to shape, I can choose, so say I wanted to choose a heart. I can choose a basic shape. I don't know that it works all that well with this, but so you kind of get the idea. Let me change it to a different shape and maybe it'll look a little bit better. So I could use a star wouldn't really work well. Let's use a call out, see if that, I don't know. So, you know, I'm just going to undo these. Some pictures work better than others with that, but just so you know that the picture is then fit within that shape that you've selected. So that's something to consider as well. So we're going to go to the title slide, and we're going to add the Messenger Library logo. So I'll go to Insert tab on the menu and then choose Pictures. Now generally, so it depends on what version you have, and I'm working off a 365 with my computer, but normally if you just choose this one, because then there's one to the right of it called Online Pictures. But if I click it, it brings a drop-down menu. So it has Online Pictures option or this device, meaning I have the picture on either a jump drive or a hard drive. So I'm just going to choose that one. So, and I'm going to use the logo. Okay, and then, so again, I can click and drag it. I can move it over here, or, you know, click and drag it wherever I'd like it to go. I kind of like it over here, but okay. And then you could do alignment, that sort of thing. So all of these, so as long as the picture is selected and then you choose picture format, that contextual tab, there are all different kinds of things to work with. You can remove backgrounds, you can correct the color, you can add artistic effects. Usually with a logo you wouldn't want to do something like that, but and then you can add picture styles. to it. And as I'm going over it, it shows you what it looks like. Okay, so so now I'm going to select the kid slide, and we're going to add a slide and add a shape. Okay, so I'm going to add a new slide. So on the Home tab, just click New Slide, and it inserts the same one. And this time I'm going to change the layout, so I'll click the Layout button, and I want to choose Title Only Layout. Okay, and I'm just going to close that pane, and I'm going to click in the title and just type in Get Book Recs. All right, and then I'm going to insert a shape. So it's very similar to inserting a picture. I'll choose the Insert tab up here, choose the Shape button, and then, so let's try the heart again. And so I can, so notice my mouse pointer turns into a little black plus sign, and if I press and hold the Shift key as I draw it, it will make it proportional. All right, and I can click and drag it if I think it's a little off base or off center. And then I can just type, and it will just type it inside the shape. So I can just type in From Librarians, exclamation point. All right, so I'm going to click the border, so everything that's in there the text will be formatted. Now notice, so here's that shape format. I could change the color. Let's use that one. I'm going to go to the Home tab, and I'm going to change the font size, and let's make it 40. And I could change the color even a little bit more. So let's go back to, because it's selected, let's go to Shape Format, and then click the More button, and I could make use the intense effect. Okay, and then I'm going to also use word art. All right, so on this Shape Format contextual tab, there are the word art styles. So I'm going to click that More button, and so you can kind of see what it looks like. Some of these really aren't popping, so how about that one? So live preview really does help, because then you can see what it looks like. Okay. And if I want to delete a slide, really all I have to do is, so I'm going to go to slide 6, and and if I wanted to delete more than one, I would just press and hold the Control key and choose More, but I don't want to delete that many, so I'm just going to click slide 6, and I just can press the Delete key and it deletes it. All right. So let's do one more thing. So to show your slideshow, I've seen a lot of people who really don't know PowerPoint all that well, and so they'll just click the slides down here. But you can actually get a full screen slide by going to Slideshow or using the Slideshow button down in the View area. But let's do it from the menu. So you click the Slideshow tab, And then if you want to start at the beginning, you would choose this one, and we already selected the first slide. You don't have to if you want to start from the beginning. But you can also choose from current slide, all right? But in this case, it doesn't really matter because we're starting from the title slide anyway. So I click this, and it goes into slideshow mode, all right? And so the slide becomes full screen. And so you can click to advance to the next slide, all right? Or you can press Enter to advance to the next slide. You can press the N button to go next. I always think of it as next. You can press the down arrow. Page down works. Down arrow. Okay. So there are several different, or right arrow will also work to advance. Or if I want to go back, I can press backspace. We'll go back one slide. P for previous. We'll go back one slide. Or I can use the left arrow key to go back to the previous slide. And just to kind of tell you, a keyboard shortcut is if I want to start the slideshow from the beginning, I can press the function key F5, all right? And Shift F5, so press and hold the Shift key and then press the function key F5 will start the slideshow from the current slide, all right? So one of the things, I'm going to advance by just clicking. One of the things, if you kind of move your mouse pointer around, you don't see them very well, but in the lower left-hand corner are some little buttons. So there's previous slide, next slide, but then some of these are very neat. So there's a little pen. If I click that, I can actually use it like as a laser pointer. If I click that, see how my mouse pointer now becomes more of a focal point if I want to draw attention to something. So I'm going to go back to that. I can also use highlighter, and I could even change the color. So if I want to highlight something, I can do that. All right. It also has a little eraser. If I just click that, and notice my mouse pointer turns into what looks like a little eraser, and I can just click and remove it. So that's kind of a cool thing to use. And then you can press escape to get it back to your regular pointer. You can also take it to slide sorter. So if you're looking for a particular slide, if somebody asks a question and you have a slide that relates to that, because it's difficult to have a slide that relates nothing to the question, and we'll talk about that in a second, but and people will be reading that slide by chance. So so you could get the slide sorter view of the slides that you have, and then click to the one you want to go to, all right, that the question relates to. I can also, there's a magnifying glass. That one's kind of an interesting one. And if I want to highlight something in particular and get it bigger and kind of take away from the rest of the slide, I can do that. And then you can just press escape to get it back to the slide. So if somebody asks a question and my slide doesn't relate to it, I can press the B key, the letter B, to black the screen. And it's a toggle key, so if I press B, it will bring it back to the screen. Or I can use the W key to bring it to a white screen. Now, I guess the reason I would choose one or the other is if the lighting in the room. If it's real dark in the room, you might want to go to the white screen. If it's bright, you could use the B key to go to the black screen. So it's whatever is up to you. But remember, the same key toggles it, turns the feature on and off to go back to it. And so if I want to go to a lot of times presentations are timed, and so if I want to just stop the presentation where I am because I've run out of time, I can always press the escape key to turn that presentation off then. It just takes it back. But so I'm just going to press from current slide. So I'm going to press enter, enter. If I get to the end of the presentation, it does come to this black screen that says at the top, end of the slideshow, click to exit. So I can just press enter and it takes me back. All right. So we're going to stop here and we'll then catch on the other side. So stop, wherever my mouse pointer is.